Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 19 of my vinyl and music collection. And this week we're going to delve into 70s and 80s classic rock, or classic rock as I saw it. Anyway, we're going to start off with my probably favourite Rolling Stones album of this era, and that will be Tattoo You. Now, they've been about many decades, from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, right through, and they've released albums in nearly every decade. And the 60s, in my eyes, were their best decade. But this is a little classic of its own, and there's some great songs on here. I love this album. It crosses a few genres. It can get quite poppy, definitely get very bluesy, and there's some good old classic rock and roll in here as well. And this is a great album. On the back, that is Keith Richards, and on the front we've got a tattooed lady. This album was released in 1981, and you've got to realise that there was a lot of competition about, with the youngsters around this time, because we had we just had punk rock, we'd had British heavy metal, we'd had metal coming over from the States, we had electronic music coming in, but the Stones were still releasing great music. And this album has absolutely got some absolute brilliant tracks here. Starts up with the classic Start Me Up, which I think we all know is a great upbeat rock song. Then we've got Hang Fire, Slave, Little T&A. My favourite track on this album will be Black Limousine, and this is a really great bluesy number, classic 12-bar blues, brilliant. Then we go into a track called Neighbours. Then we flip over to the B side, Worried About You, Tops, Heaven, No Use in Crying, and finishes off with another classic popular Rolling Stones song called Waiting on a Friend. I think this is probably one of the best albums during this period of the 80s and 90s, maybe the 70s as well. Let me know if you feel any different about it, but that is my favourite album of this decade, Tattoo You. Fleetwood Mac's Rumours. This was released in 1977, and again, this was released at a time when music was changing. The youngsters, myself included, I had been 14 around this time, and we were into punk rock. Punk was coming in. Punk was big. But this album was right up there. It sold absolute millions upon millions, and there was a radio station in America which broadcasted the full album before release, which counted for a few million less sales for Fleetwood Mac. It was written around a time when there was quite a bit of turmoil with Fleetwood Mac. You had Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks going through quite a public breakup. Then you had John McVie and Christine McVie going through a breakup as well. And obviously you've got Mick Fleetwood in the middle. But little did we realise, it was only years later that we found out that Mick Fleetwood was having an affair with Stevie Nicks. It's just a crazy time for this band, and for them to release this album, and the songs basically portray the heartbreak, the breakup, I suppose, all the abusive language that came between them, and the songs that came out of this album all-time classics, all-time classics. First track would be called Secondhand News. Dreams, covered by so many great bands, and I actually do love that song. Never Going Back Again. Don't Stop, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant song. Very bluesy, going back to a bit of their 60s 12-bar blues stuff going on there. A track which I play at my gigs, Go Your Own Way. I love that. It's Lindsay Buckingham and Stevie Nicks. Stevie Nicks wrote the songs, and Lindsay Buckingham basically fixed them all together. And it's basically the song about those two, and the lyrics are quite poignant, you know. And Stevie Nicks wasn't quite happy with the lyric "shagging up's all you want to do," and that basically meant with another man, I suppose. So that was Go Your Own Way. The classic Christine McVie song, Songbird. And this is such an absolute brilliant song. Covered by Eva Cassidy. Check out her version of it. It's absolutely brilliant. You Make Loving Fun. I don't think they were making loving fun during this album, but that's a great song as well. I Don't Want to Know. Oh Daddy. And another great song at the end, Gold Dust Woman. Rumours, no matter what anyone tells you, this is a classic album. It is brilliant. It's played by all genres, it's played by all different ages. All the songs are all classic songs, still played at gigs, and you hear modern bands covering a lot of these songs as well. And the Cranberries did cover Go Your Own Way, and they did, and it was in their set at Paris, and it's a brilliant, brilliant. Check it out on YouTube anyway, the Cranberries doing Go Your Own Way. One of my favourite albums, Fleetwood Mac's Rumours. The start of the 70s, Led Zeppelin released Led Zeppelin 3 1970, produced by Jimmy Page. This was a big, big change for Zeppelin after Zeppelin 1, which was quite bluesy. Led Zeppelin 2, very hard rock. Then we come to this album. This can fall into all kinds of genres. It can fall into hard rock, classic rock, even kind of folk, you know. It's got some great songs on here. And it was written in my home country of Wales, in a little farmhouse called Bron Oer, and that was up in North Wales. And they spent a long time, and they actually used that place to write most of their songs. It's a great album. It's got a great gatefold to it, and it's got a psychedelic type of thing which twists in you. I've got a feeling everyone that's got this album, it doesn't work, but it goes round like that, and there's little kind of windows there where you can see what's going on. On the back, obviously, we've got Jimmy Page, John Paul Jones, Robert Plant, and the legendary drummer John Bonham, who was passed away in 1980. Probably all my favourite Led Zeppelin songs are on here, and a few of them I play live. It starts off with that brooding, rocky number called The Immigrant Song. I don't think there's a better intro to many songs than that. Brilliant. Then we've got Friends, again, which is another classic Zeppelin. Celebration Day, another classic Zeppelin song. One of my favourite rock ballads, Since I've Been Loving You. What a brilliant, brilliant song. I've learnt bits and bobs of it on the guitar, but you can't really, you know, the way Jimmy Page played and produced, but I played a few little bits of it. And track 5, Out on the Tiles. Side 2 is one of my favourite sides, this one is, and it starts off with that classic Gallows Pole, which is a reinterpretation of that great kind of lead belly 60s Hangman. It's all based around the same lyrics and the same words, but Zeppelin put their own little spin of it, where it starts quite slow and brooding and finishes off, you know, in a manic free-for-all jam. Track 2, Tangerine, great Zeppelin number. Track 3, That's the Way. That's a lovely song again. It's a bit laid back. Track 4, it's an instrumental, and it's called Bron Air Stomp, and that's the name of the farm where they wrote all the songs, and that's a brilliant instrumental. I recommend that you have a listen to that. And it finishes off with a track called Hats Off to Roy Harper. Roy Harper was a British folk singer, guitarist, brilliant, who's still playing to this day, and he was a big friend of Led Zeppelin. And that's Led Zeppelin 3. My favourite Zeppelin album. We've covered a couple of Zeppelin albums, but this is the one which has been on my turntable time after time after time. Brilliant. My first introduction into maybe heavy metal or hard rock, and it's not really a hard, you know, it's not a hard rock album as such. It's very theatrical. And I did mention earlier that I lost this album. Guess what? I found it. It's Meatloaf's Battered of Hell, released circa 1977, 1978. And when we got into heavy metal, everyone kept talking about this album. You got to listen to Battered of Hell. And I don't think anyone's been disappointed listening to this album. It's just got all the classics, all the drama. It's a brilliant album. There's the back of it, Meatloaf. He got a bit cabaret in the end. I did see Meatloaf live during, I don't know what, I think it was coming up to one of his last real classic albums, I'll Do Anything for You. But I'd have loved to see Meatloaf doing the Battered of Hell time. And the tracks in here would be Battered Hell, classic song. You Took the Words Right Out of My Mouth. It's Hot Summer's Night. I don't think there's a bad song in here. Heaven Can Wait. All Revved Up with No Place to Go. Another favourite of mine is 2 Out of 3 Ain't Bad. Paradise by the Dashboard Light, another great song. And For Crying Out Loud. Produced and engineered by the great Todd Rundgren, and arranged by Jim Steinman, and dedicated to Wesley and Wilma Adair and Louise Steinman. Battered of Hell. I think that you find this in many collections, and been played literally hundreds of times. Great album. Let's get back to the UK and Paul McCartney and Wings, Venus and Mars. 1975. It's a good album. I'm not saying it's as great as the first Wings album or Band on the Run, which was a classic album. But this has got its place in that rock genre. It's got a brilliant lineup. And the lineup would consist of obviously Paul McCartney and Linda McCartney. Then you've got the great Denny Lane, and I'm a big fan of Jimmy McCulloch. He's on here as well, and Joe English. It's a nice gatefold sleeve. And that's all the band lined up with there. Venus and Mars, what I understand what Paul McCartney meant by this is that he's talking about men and women and how far they are apart from each other. I'm not going to get involved with that. But it's a great album. I'll read out some of the tracks for you. So the first track is called Venus and Mars. Then we've got Rock Show, Loving Song, You Gave Me the Answer, Magneto and Titanium Man, Letting Go, Venus and Mars Reprise, Spirit of Ancient Egypt, Medicine Jar, Call Me Back Again, the most famous song on here. I'd imagine we've all heard it. Listen to What the Man Said. It's a great AOR, adult oriented rock song, and it's got a great little hook in it. Treat Her Gently, Lonely Old People. I've played this a few times. I'm not going to say it's brilliant. I'm not going to say it's a classic, but it's a nice album just to put on the turntable and have a little chill out too. Anyway, Paul McCartney and Wings, Venus and Mars. My all-time favourite, who's in the news at the moment, Bruce Springsteen. Can't get enough of him. I love him. I absolutely love him. I got into him quite late, probably the early 80s, and he'd already released, some really, really, really classic albums. But this was the album, I'd have been probably 20 when this was released. And it's called Born in the USA. And classic Bruce Springsteen. I'm not sure if you've been watching the news lately. He's been playing the UK, he's been playing Manchester. He's played a few nights in the new Manchester Co-op Arena. And he does love the UK. And there's a big, I don't get political on this podcast at all, but he's got quite political with Mr. Donald Trump. And there's a bit of a spat. But I think the world could be falling on Springsteen's side on this. It's a brilliant album, released in about 1984. And side one, Born in the USA. How can you say he's not a patriot? Cover Me, brilliant song. Darlington County. These are all, he's singing about America, I'm British, I'm Welsh, but I can understand his passion. This album is passionately America. How can politicians say that he's not a patriot? It's incredible. Working on the Highway, great track now, Downbound Train. And my favourite track, not including Born USA, is a track called I'm on Fire. And he wrote this song in tribute to Johnny Cash. And the funny thing was, many, many years later, when Johnny Cash is coming to the end of his life, he covers I'm on Fire and he acknowledges Bruce Springsteen's tribute to him as well. I actually do this song in my gig set list, and I don't do a Springsteen version, I don't do a Johnny Cash version. It's a bit more bluesier for me. And you can change these songs and put it in your own genre. Anyway, that is side one. Side two, No Surrender, great song. Bobby Jean, I'm Going Down. What another great song, Glory Days, in no matter what country you come from, you're kind of singing along with that, and you've got your own flag up there. Another great song, which is still played in the pubs and clubs around the country, and that's Dancing in the Dark. What a classic. And it's a pub favourite in these parts of the world. And the last track is called My Hometown. If any Americans are watching this, this is the true honest American patriot, Bruce Springsteen. We love him in this country, and I'm sure you love him in the USA as well. Could stick with America, Texas way this time, and ZZ Top. Again, I got into ZZ Top late 70s with their bluesy albums, Rio Grande Mud, Tres Hombres, and then this album broke them internationally, broke them in the UK. It's called Eliminator. Fantastic videos. I was so proud when ZZ Top were making like the top 10 of the UK charts, because I'd been into them a few years earlier when they were a down Texas blues band, and for them to come up with these real great classic pop rock hits was brilliant. Obviously, we've got the great Dusty Hill, we've got Frank Beard, and we've got the great Billy Gibbons. And there they are with the Eliminator car that was made specially for most of the videos. And the videos are great. You just gotta love them. There's the Eliminator again. And the songs in here would be You Got Me Under Pressure, Sharp Dressed Man, I Need You Tonight, I Got the Six, Legs, Thug, TV Dinners, Dirty Dog, If I Could Only Flag Her Down, Bad Girl. Brilliant album. Released mid-late 80s, not quite sure when, but it's when MTV were big and videos were big, and so we've got, sorry with the light down there, ZZ Top's Eliminator. Fantastic. A bit of Scottish classic rock, and this is Marillion's Clutching at Straws. Marillion's fourth album and the last with Fish on vocals. This was really well critically acclaimed by all the music magazines, DJs, record producers. It's just a marvellous album, and it's a concept album, and it's about this fella here, and his name is Torch. And if you look by there, you can see a jester's mask and kind of costume. And Torch is the son of the jester from the first album, which is quite amazing. He's a down and out alcoholic. His wife has left him. He's in a pretty bad state. This is a British pub in Colchester, and we've got Robert Burns, we've got Dylan Thomas, we've got Lenny Bruce, we've got Truman Solomon, I think. On the back, we've got John Lennon, Jimmy Dean, and Jack Kerouac. It's a great concept album, and I think it's a great cover as well. And there's 3 top 20 songs in here as well. They didn't have many more hits after Fish had left. That was a crying shame. He left because of being pushed hard by EMI, taking away their kind of artistic rights, etc. That's a little promo for t-shirts and stuff. I still got that. It's amazing. So this album was released in 1987. So this is what the Fish fans would have been wearing, or the Marillion fans would have been wearing at the time. We've got the lyrics on the vinyl inner, and the tracks in here would be Hotel Hobbies, Warm Wet Circles is a great song, and that was one of their top singles at the time. Track 3, That Time of the Night, The Short Straw, Just for the Record, and White Russian. I love White Russian. Now you've got this, it's a concept album, so it's about this fella here, and his name is Torch, and it's basically his demise into alcoholism, being a down and out. And I suppose when we're looking at all these characters on here, we all know that they all had issues. They all had issues with alcohol, especially Dylan Thomas, who we can see by here. Dylan Thomas, if I'm looking straight ahead of me now, out of my patio doors, Dylan Thomas was born a mile up the road. Great Welsh poet. And obviously on the back, we've got Lennon, Jimmy Dean, and we've got Jack Kerouac. Marillion's last album before Fish had left, and it was their 4th album. It's a great, great album, a great concept album. Let's go back to Fleetwood Mac. Fleetwood Mac, the 1980s, and it's called Tango in the Night. I bought this album. I hadn't heard too much more about Fleetwood Mac for the previous few years after Rumours and Tusk. I'm not sure if they took a sabbatical, but anyway, they came out with this album, and it was mainly a Lindsey Buckingham produced and directed album. He wanted to take Fleetwood Mac down a new direction. He knew that we had, you know, the world was changing musically. You know, we had electronic synthesizers, we had punk, we had new wave, and this album was meant to compete with those. It did. It's a brilliant album. I like it. There's some great songs on here, some classic pop, some classic rock on here. It's not their normal. It's not their normal album. It's not Rumours. It's not Tusk. It's definitely not the Peter Green years either. But it's the classic lineup of Lindsey Buckingham, Stevie Nicks, Mick Fleetwood, Christine McVie, and John McVie. So that's the classic Fleetwood Mac lineup. And the tracks on here, first one was a big hit for them, and that's called Big Love. It's a great song. Seven Wonders, one of my favourite songs in here. Everywhere, Caroline. The title track then is called Tango in the Night, and that's a nice song. Mystified. Side 2, I think, is probably the most famous song on this album, and that's called Little Lies. Family Man, Welcome to the Room, Isn't It Midnight, When I See You Again, You and I Part 2. It was a big change for Fleetwood Mac to go down this road. We've got the lyric sheets on the liner. Lindsey Buckingham didn't stay too much longer after this. He did have problems with the rest of the band on the way that he wanted to direct Fleetwood Mac, and they did part company. They did come back, and they did do some great stuff again, but they weren't really the same. Next up, I've got 3 greatest hits albums, and if you're an Eric Clapton fan of all his years, I think this has got to be one of the best compilations you'll ever come across. It's Eric Clapton, the Cream of Clapton, and it just covers a bit of Cream, a bit of everything. It's a lovely gatefold. There's pictures of him when he was with the Yardbirds, John Mayer's Blues Breakers, Derek and the Dominoes. You know, we've got to love Clapton, and I think we do. to me, Clapton introduced me to Freddie King, because I remember him talking once that all his licks and chops in his guitar he took from Freddie King, and to me that was a great compliment. And I checked out Freddie King and I fell in love with Freddie King as well. So this is a great album, some great picks, and it's a great gatefold. And on the back, we can see, if I get a bit closer out to the light, we can see his most famous guitar on there. That was called Blackie, and he sold that in auction for charity for a big 6-figure sum. It's got a lovely biography in the middle here. Some absolutely great pictures. Pictures of him from the Yardbirds, from Cream, from Derek and the Dominoes. The tracks on here, absolutely, out of this world. Layla, the original version. Badge, I Feel Free. So Layla was Derek and the Dominoes, Badge were Cream, I Feel Free was Cream. Another favourite of mine, Sunshine of Your Love, another Cream song. Strange Brew, Cream. White Room, Cream again. Cocaine, Eric Clapton, solo. I Shot the Sheriff, which was a Bob Marley cover, and he did a brilliant version of that. I'm not going to go into Eric Clapton's politics, but you can check it out on Google, his politics. They're not my politics. Side 2, Behind the Mask, which we've actually covered that one on one of the last episodes, and that's Eric Clapton solo. Forever Man, great song. That's Eric Clapton solo again. Lay Down Sally, great rock and roll number. Knocking on Heaven's Door, which that would have been the Bob Dylan cover. Wonderful Tonight. This is when he was dating George Harrison's wife. Let It Grow, which is a lovely ballad. Promises. And the last track is I've Got a Rock and Roll Heart. If you can just put aside Eric Clapton's reputation, his politics, if you love him or you hate him, just listen to the music. It's brilliant. Chris Rea, Greatest Hits. This was released late 1988, and he's from the north east of England, Northumberland way, I think. He's just a great British icon, and he wrote some brilliant songs, from classic rock to blues to even pop. And this album is got to be worth a listen to. You can probably pick this up pretty cheap somewhere. And the tracks on here will be Let's Dance, Working on It, Ace of Hearts, the classic. Track 4 is Josephine, track 5, Candles, track 6 is The Great on the Beach. That's a great song. Side 2, Fool If You Think It's Over, brilliant classic. I Can Hear Your Heartbeat, Shamrock Diaries, which we covered the album Shamrock Diaries. Track 4, Stainsby's Girls, which is one of his famous songs. Windy Town. And we all know that classic Christmas song, Driving Home for Christmas. And the last track is Steel River, the best of Chris Rea. And we've got a lyric sheet. Great album. And that's the rear side of it. Best of Chris Rea. Brilliant album. The third Greatest Hits album, and this is played a lot, and it's Meatloaf's The Best Of. And it's called Meatloaf, The Hits Out of Hell. And it's from these 3 albums here. Battle of Hell, Midnight at the Lost and Found, and Dead Ringer. So all the tracks, all the best tracks from those albums. So we've obviously got Battle of Hell, Read 'Em and Weep, Midnight at the Lost and Found, which is a great song. 2 Out of 3 Ain't Bad, Dead Ringer for Love, that great rock and roll song. Side 2, Modern Girl, I'm Gonna Love Her for the Both of Us, You Took the Words Out of My Mouth, Hot Summer's Night, Razor's Edge, and Paradise by the Dashboard Light. As I said, we've lost Meatloaf, but what a character, dramatic, theatrical, great singer, great performer. His friendship with Jim Steinman was absolutely incredible. So the songs which came out of there were absolutely brilliant. Anyway, that's my little delve into my collection of 70s and 80s classic rock. And I'll see you for episode 20 next week. Take care, everyone. See you soon.